Well, I was gonna go size these, and then it came to me that the machine shop didn't do another process. There's a couple theories on this. The Babbitt they use now is better than what they used to use. So some manufacturers or machine shops will not put in oil grooves. I think in this case we have to have oil grooves. This is a rod out of another, this is a stock Nash engine, and I talked earlier about how the oil needed to get up to these holes to spray the backside of the piston. Now, if there are no oil grooves in here, and I only have 1.5 thou to 2 thou clearance, oil is not going to get up and it's not going to spray. And if you can see the way they've cut these grooves, this is the upper rod end, and then the cap. The oil groove goes right to the main hole where the dipper hits. So at 2,000 RPMs, the force of this hitting the oil will actually create oil pressure as it's thrust into the rod end, and it'll come around the groove and shoot up, and it'll also help get lubrication to parts of the bearings that wouldn't normally get it, because this is not fed by oil pressure in the main sense that the mains are. They also have a groove cut on either side of the rod here, which allows the oil to get in here. There's not that much thrust on this side, so this oil will actually be forced into the 1/2 thou or thou and a half clearance to help lubricate this bearing. So I have to put those grooves in this. I didn't like the way they turned out in the bushings, but I had no choice. I've got a choice on this one. I am going to make a jig that's going to fit in the rod and cap, and I'm going to use it as a guide to run my ball mill through, so I'll have a cleaner groove and it's not all over the place. I've got, this is the Dykes manual, always go to the Dyke, explaining the purposes of the oil grooves and different types of oil grooves. This is every man's guide to motor efficiency. This is from the 20s too, and this talks about the oil grooves. I think I'm going to start a drinking game to where every time I say everybody has to take a drink. What do you think? Did everybody get their drink? Okay. What I've got here is a scrap piece of metal, and I cut some reliefs in it. I'm using a body hammer, and I've got a couple different size things I can use to help form it, to get it down to the rod ID size. I don't have exact size other than the crank, and I will not be beating on the crank with a hammer. So I'm going to get this as close as I can, get that guide cut into it, and it looks like I'm going to have to, oh, Jesus, you guys must be getting drunk by the time, many times I'm saying yeah, you might as well just leave the bottle right there in your hand. God, it's hard not to say so I'm just not going to say anything at all. Found a good use for Chinese socket. Exact size I needed. All I had to do was stick it in there and beat it in with a hammer. And then there's that again. I marked over 3/8 from each side, centered it. There it is again. Run a piece of tape through there so I'll have a good arc. I will draw that out with a magic marker, and I will use God, everybody must be getting really drunk by now. I'll use a carbide cutter to cut the groove in there, and that'll be the guide for the ball mill that I'll be using. Gotta use what you got in the garage, or what you can find laying around. So, well, that didn't work out well. Let me get that back down in there. I ended up putting a piece of wood behind this so it wouldn't bust off the dipper tab when I did this, but look at that. Almost looks like I know what I'm doing. Kind of laid it out while it was over there in the vise. Doesn't matter if it straightens back out or not when I'm cutting this, because I'll just rebend it. The goal is to make the edges as sharp as you can so you cut the hell out of yourself when you're making it. I made it about a 1/4 inch bigger in all directions, so I'll have room to fold it around when I go. Everybody drink. Now that I got somewhat of the shape done, I gotta cut reliefs into this that'll bend over the side of the rod cap to help position it and hold it in place. I need to cut that end out right here. Because that's not going to want to bend. Everything takes time. Gonna go over to the vise and I will pound these down that way. What I did is I had the cap, put it in here, and came back and drilled this way. Got my holes marked. I'm going to drill the end stops of where the groove's going to go. I had to make 2 of them because the groove orientation in the cap is different from the rod. Once again, I'm just using tape because it's a good straight edge. I'm just gonna go center to center with the hole. Might have to, there we go. What I determined is the best way to cut the groove is with a die grinder. I got it started first and then ran it. If I tried scoring it and then going down crossways, I would not get a straight line. You see that? Believe it or not, that's hot. I ain't touching that. No. Once again, I made sure I left enough burrs on here to cut the hell out of myself. But I will deburr this. I think my little whirly tool is getting wore out, is what I'm thinking. Well, there it goes. It's still getting wore out. Yeah. See if that fixes the problem. If it doesn't, I'm putting the other one right back on. Yeah, that fixed the problem. Cutter was wore out. I'm going to be sure to get the burrs off the Babbitt bearing side. I don't want to. That is not working well. There we go. That's working a little better. Yeah, I want to get these burrs off so I don't cut into the bearing. Shouldn't really matter, but try to make it as neat as I can. Well, there you have it. Got the two pieces, upper and lower. Let's see if my, I didn't say I said my great plan works out. Well, believe it or not, I made a mistake. I had this end stop come too close to the end of the Babbitt bearing. I don't want to compromise the Babbitt structure by being that close to the radius or the end of it. So I'm going to come in and cut this material out here. And then I am going to use a hammer and I'm going to flatten this out and stretch the metal that way. At least that is the plan. This is going to take some time. I won't bore you with the details. There we go. I got it pulled back over. I'd rather have the groove more on the inside than the outside, how it was. So I got my two guides made up. And let's see how this works. Well, I'm going to move this to tomorrow's project, but I put them in there, and I got out the magic marker. It's going to work. I think. We will find out tomorrow. Doesn't need to be that warm when I'm not in here. Ooh. Honey raspberry wheat. Castle Danger.